In the years following the exile of Cain from Eden's eastern gates, he wandered the wilderness under the curse of his slain brother's blood. The ground no longer yielded for him, and every eye watched with dread the man marked by the hand of God. Yet Cain, ever cunning, built a city in the land of Nod, east of Eden, and named it after his firstborn son, Enoch. This Enoch, born of guilt and shame, was unlike other men. From the moment he entered the world, there was a weight behind his eyes, a silent, haunting awareness. His mother, Alon, Cain's sister wife, whispered that he never cried as an infant, only stared at the stars, as if they were speaking to him in the ancient tongue of heaven. Cain trained Enoch in the arts of survival, how to grow grain from cursed soil, how to tame wild beasts, how to silence a man with one strike. But Enoch never took to violence. While his cousins and half-brothers learned to hunt and conquer, Enoch sat alone at the edge of the city walls, speaking to shadows, tracing circles into the dust, and writing symbols no one else understood. One evening, while the red sun bled over the horizon, Enoch followed a whisper into the hills of Nod. The voice, soft and strange, called him by name, not as a man calls another, but as if it came from within him. There, in the cleft of a rock, he saw them, beings that were not men, yet walked as men. They were tall, shining, and terrible, their faces veiled with brilliance, and their eyes like burning coals. Enoch, son of the marked one, said the tallest of them, whose wings shimmered like fire, "You have been chosen to see what others cannot. For though your father is cursed, your spirit is not bound by his blood." Enoch fell to the ground in fear, but the being raised him gently. "We are the watchers," it said, "sent to guard men, but we have grown weary. The earth groans under sin, and the daughters of man grow fair." Thus began the secret education of Enoch. The watchers taught him the secrets of the heavens, the courses of the stars, the names of the winds, and the power of spoken words. They showed him the foundations of the earth and the order of creation, things no mortal was meant to know. Cain, noticing his son's growing distance, confronted him. "Where do you go at night?" Cain demanded, clutching his staff. "To learn," Enoch answered softly. "To hear the truth the ground won't tell you." Cain's eyes burned with ancient fear. "You walk with things not meant for flesh. You open doors that were sealed by fire." But Enoch only nodded, for he knew the road he walked was one few would understand, and many would try to silence. Soon, Enoch began to write. Using reeds and stone tablets, he recorded the teachings of the watchers, the fall of angels, the destiny of souls, and the coming judgment. His writings were hidden in caves and sealed in jars, for he foresaw the time when men would seek to destroy his words. He wrote not to preserve knowledge alone, but to warn, for something was coming, something old, something divine, and Enoch, though born of a cursed man, had become its prophet. In the dark hours before dawn, when the city of Enoch still slept beneath the sighing winds of Nod, the stars above burned more brightly for the son of Cain. They seemed to shift and pulse in ways that mortal men could not perceive, and Enoch alone heard their voices, whispers of destiny, rebellion, and hidden judgment. The watchers met him on the mount called Arden. It was a place where no human dared tread, where lightning split the skies without storm and the trees never aged. There, Enoch sat among the sons of heaven, Azazel, Semiaza, Kokabeel, and many more, each one bearing secrets of creation too great for the minds of men. "Behold the vault of heaven," said Kokabeel, angel of the stars. "Each light you see is a throne, a power, a watcher. Not all are loyal." With a wave of his hand, Kokabeel unveiled a vision in the sky. Enoch's eyes burned with the image, stars tumbling from the heavens, like burning stones, crashing into mountains and seas. Cities wept blood, trees rotted, the sky turned black. "These are the signs of the end," whispered Kokabeel. "When the order collapses and the Nephilim rise." Enoch asked, "Who are they, the Nephilim?" Azazel stepped forward. His wings were darker than the others, stained by pride and desire. "They are the children of angels and women, born from our rebellion, giants in flesh, monsters in soul. Their breath will poison the earth, and their hunger will have no end." Enoch's heart trembled. "Why do you tell me this? Why would you share such doom?" Semiazza, the leader of the watchers, answered solemnly, because you are the one who must write it, not for your generation, but for the last. For when the world forgets who made it and who watches it, your words will awaken the truth." So Enoch wrote again. He etched into stone the names of the fallen angels, the secrets they gave to men, sorcery, metallurgy, root cutting, and enchantments. He recorded the fate of the Nephilim, who would turn the hearts of men to violence and lust, making the earth a place of unholy union. The Watchers, once guardians, now stood in defiance of their command. They pleaded with Enoch to write a petition on their behalf, to ask the Most High to forgive their rebellion. Enoch, filled with sorrow for them, agreed. He climbed alone into the mountain caves of Salam, where the wind carried no echo and the earth vibrated with a strange energy. There he fasted for 7 days, his body weak, but his spirit aflame. He raised his voice toward heaven, writing the plea of the Watchers in fire upon the rocks. And the sky answered, not in words, but in trembling. Lightning carved the cliffs. Thunder rolled like the roar of beasts. And a voice, not heard, but felt, descended upon Enoch's heart. They shall not be forgiven. Their children shall devour the earth. And you, son of Cain, shall be taken. Enoch fell to the ground, shaking, knowing his time among men would not last. But his mission was not yet complete. He had to finish the books, seal the warnings, and prepare the path for the one who would come, one not yet born, but destined to carry the light through the flood of shadows. As he descended the mountain, the stars no longer whispered, they screamed. The city of Enoch, named for the son of Cain, was no longer quiet. Whispers of strange births and unnatural strength spread, like wildfire through the desert towns of Nod and beyond. Rumors told of men the size of trees, sons born to mortal women who walked with the arrogance of gods. They were beautiful, terrible, and insatiable. These were the Nephilim, the cursed offspring of angels and daughters of men. Enoch returned to the valley and saw them for himself. They laughed like thunder and ran like leopards. They spoke in languages no human mouth should utter, tongues of stars and fire. And wherever they went, ruin followed. Villages were torn apart for sport. Animals were butchered not for meat, but for pleasure. Women were taken, used, and discarded. The Nephilim had no law but desire, no God but their own power. Their fathers, the fallen Watchers, looked on from the high places, some with pride, others with horror. But none could undo what they had begun. Enoch confronted Semyaza in the ruins of a temple that once honored El Elyon, the Most High. Vines strangled the stone pillars. Blood stained the altar. A Nephilim child, no older than 6, played with the bones of a priest. "You knew this would happen," Enoch said, voice trembling. "You taught them secrets not meant for earth. Now your sons destroy what remains of the old world." Semyaza lowered his head. "We were drawn to beauty and the loneliness of heaven. We did not foresee the rage that would follow." Enoch did not believe him. He could see it in the angel's eyes. Regret, yes, but also hunger. That night, Enoch returned to his scrolls. He chronicled the lineages of the giants. He wrote their names, their sins, their corruptions. He wrote of the mingling of bloodlines, of how even the seed of Cain had been tainted anew, not by murder, but by divine rebellion. The giants had no love for Enoch. They called him Whisperer of Heaven, Worm of Judgment, and Stone Tongue. Yet they feared him. Wherever he went, the skies grew dark, and strange things occurred. Wolves howled in daylight. Wells turned bitter, and the stars flickered unnaturally. One giant, Erekiel, a leader among them, tried to silence him. With a sword of gold and a voice that cracked mountains, he charged at Enoch near the river Setter. But as he lifted his blade, the heavens split with lightning, and a blinding being appeared, wreathed in flame, riding on wheels of burning light. The giant screamed in terror and fled. Enoch knelt. The being did not speak, but laid its hand on Enoch's head. In that moment, he saw visions, oceans rising, fire falling, the earth shaking, and a boat atop a mountain. He saw a child born from the line of Seth who would rebuild what was destroyed. Then the vision faded. Enoch stood, changed. His eyes burned like coals, and his face shone with a strange light. He understood now. The end was near, and his work must be finished. He would write of the heavenly realms, the watching angels, the corruption of flesh, and the judgment to come. He would preserve the truth not for his city, which was beyond saving. But for the one who would come after, the builder of the ark. His blood may have come from Cain, but his purpose was divine. And soon, Enoch would no longer walk among men. The wind carried ash across the plains of Nod. Fires burned in the hills, where once wheat grew. Enoch sat alone beneath a withered sycamore, ink-stained hands working furiously over a scroll of lambskin, stretched taut across a flat stone. His eyes, lit with the light of the heavens, scanned the horizon, but he no longer looked for men. He looked beyond them, to the realm unseen. He was no longer Enoch the son of Cain, builder's heir. He had become Enoch the scribe of righteousness, the watcher of watchers, the chronicler of divine mysteries. His scrolls had grown in number, 42 in all, each sealed with a symbol known only to the angels. He recorded not just history, but secrets, cosmic knowledge hidden since the first breath of man. These were no ordinary writings. They spoke of the heavenly tablets, written before the earth was formed, of the paths of the sun and moon, and how their rhythms revealed judgment, of the 10 heavens, layer upon layer, from which divine laws flowed down like rivers into the soil of time. One scroll, the most guarded of them all, was titled the Book of the Luminaries. It spoke of the celestial order, how stars governed seasons, and how their alignment revealed the future. In it, Enoch warned of a time when the stars would weep, fall and shatter, marking the rise of chaos and the wrath of the Most High. Another scroll, called the Book of the Watchers, named each fallen angel, their deeds, and their offspring. It revealed their sins, the forging of weapons, the mixing of herbs for forbidden potions, the use of charms and enchantments to seduce and enslave. These angels had gifted mankind with knowledge that corrupted rather than elevated, and their punishment would be eternal chains under mountains of fire. But there was a third book, the one Enoch kept hidden even from the angels, the Book of Secrets. This volume contained revelations so great, even the watchers trembled when he wrote them. And it were the truths of the end of all flesh, of the flood to come, and of a final judgment when the Son of Man would descend in glory, surrounded by hosts of flame. And in this same book, Enoch saw his own departure. He had a vision in the night, a chariot of fire, spinning wheels of sapphire, and voices like rushing waters. For angels stood beside it, faces veiled, swords drawn, not in wrath, but in honor. One spoke in a voice not heard with ears, but known within the marrow of his bones. You will walk no more among the dying. The Most High calls you upward, that you may dwell among the holy ones. Your words shall echo in time, though men will seek to bury them. Enoch awoke with tears on his face, not of sorrow, but awe. He buried the Book of Secrets beneath the roots of the sycamore. The tree, dead for years, suddenly bloomed. Its bark turned silver, its leaves shimmered like bronze. The earth sealed the scroll with stone and flame. He then returned to the city of Enoch, which now groaned under the weight of the Nephilim's rule. He spoke to the few righteous, who remained, those who still remembered the name of the Most High. Prepare, he said. Water will become your sky. Mountains will vanish beneath waves. But one family shall be spared. He found a man named Methuselah, his own son, now old and wise. Enoch gave him copies of the scrolls and warned, guard these until the flood comes. Hide them in the high places. One day, a remnant shall rediscover them, and the world will know again what men forgot. Then Enoch walked into the wilderness and vanished. The wilderness of Nod stretched before him, barren, endless, and gray. But Enoch did not walk it as a man exiled. He moved like one called. With each step, the wind grew quieter, the birds stilled, and the skies seemed to hold their breath. His feet touched the soil, yet he no longer left tracks behind. On the 7th day of his journey, he reached the summit of Mount Zalman, a forgotten peak beyond the hills of blood. There, the sky seemed nearer, and the stars pulsed with an unnatural rhythm, like the beat of a divine heart. Enoch knelt and waited. He had no staff, no food, no scroll, only silence. Then came the sound of wings, vast, ancient, and unearthly. The skies cracked open like a scroll being unrolled. Fire poured from the heavens, not to consume, but to reveal. And from the rift came the chariot. It was not made of metal or stone, but of light woven with lightning. For wheels spun beneath it, each covered with eyes, watching in every direction. 4 living beings stood around the chariot, each with 4 faces: lion, ox, eagle, and man. Their wings burned with glory, and their voices sang in unison. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Most High. The heavens tremble at his name. Then the voice of the Most High filled the heavens, not thunder, not wind, but pure knowing. Enoch, son of the cursed, you are no longer of the earth. You have pleased me. You have walked in righteousness amid corruption, and your words shall be eternal. Come. The chariot descended, and the earth split open beneath Enoch's feet. But he did not fall. He rose, weightless, radiant. The fire did not burn him. The wheels did not crush him. The beings did not harm him. They lifted him into the heavens. He passed through the first heaven, where clouds and winds obeyed their keepers. Then the second, where rebel spirits were imprisoned in gloom. The third revealed paradise, lush gardens untouched by death. In the fourth, he saw the watchers of the stars, recording each movement. The fifth was veiled in sorrow, housing the spirits of those who cried out for justice. The sixth held angels of judgment, stern, flaming, unbending. And the seventh was unspeakable. There, Enoch beheld the throne of the Most High. A sea of glass like crystal spread before it. Fire surrounded it. Light without shadow poured from it. And above the throne, beyond the reach of time, sat the Ancient of Days, robed in glory, crowned in silence. Enoch fell to his face, but the Lord raised him. You shall be called not merely Enoch, but Metatron, scribe of heaven, prince of the presence. You shall record the deeds of men and the decisions of angels. You shall never taste death. Enoch was clothed in garments of flame and crowned with 7 eyes of knowledge. He became more than man, less than God, an immortal intermediary between heaven and earth. He saw the watchers being judged and cast into the abyss beneath the mountains. He saw the Nephilim crushed by divine hand, their bones buried beneath seas and deserts. He saw the flood rising, purging the wickedness sown by forbidden unions. And he saw Noah, righteous, obedient, chosen. Yet Enoch wept, not for himself, but for mankind. For he had seen what lay beyond even the flood, kingdoms rising in defiance, temples built in pride, prophets stoned, and one day a cross. He asked the Lord, will man ever be reconciled to you? And the Lord showed him a vision of a child born of a virgin, bearing light in the midst of darkness. Not by sword, said the voice, but by sacrifice. And Enoch understood. The chariot ascended higher still, and Enoch, now Metatron, was seated beside the throne, quill in hand, ready to record the final age. But far below, men would forget. They would silence his scrolls. They would bury his name. And the book of Enoch would become a forbidden tale. But truth cannot stay hidden forever. Generations passed. The flood came and went, purging the world of giants and unholy unions. Only Noah and his family survived, and with them, the legacy of righteousness Enoch had foretold. But memory fades like mist in the morning. The world was reborn, yet men quickly returned to pride, forgetting the sins that once drowned them. In the mountains of Ararat, Methuselah's descendants guarded Enoch's scrolls. They whispered of the angels, the heavens, and the watchers. But their voices grew fewer. As kingdoms rose, Babylon, Assyria, Egypt, power corrupted knowledge. Kings feared prophecy. Priests feared truth that lay outside their authority. The scrolls were scattered. Some were hidden in jars and sealed in caves by secret scribes who still believed. Others were burned in the temple courts of the high places, deemed dangerous by those who served earthly gods. The book of Enoch, once revered, was now a relic of suspicion. Too strange, too bold, too divine. As time passed, Enoch's name began to vanish from the records of men. His visions were labeled as myth. His identity as Cain's son, a blemish on the righteous narrative, was ignored. The bloodline of Seth was celebrated, Cain's legacy buried, and yet the scrolls endured in silence. Then came the scribes of Israel, the keepers of law and history. They remembered Enoch as one who walked with God, but left out the fire, the chariots, the angels. The stories were stripped to a line. The rest? Too controversial, too heavenly. The book of Enoch was declared unfit for public reading. The rabbis debated. Can a book written by one not born of the line of Seth be trusted? Others asked, why does he speak of 10 heavens when the Torah mentions only one? Some shuddered at the mention of the Son of Man. Enoch described a divine figure who would one day judge all. It threatened the systems of power, both religious and royal. And so, in councils and chambers, it was decided. The book of Enoch would be silenced. The early church fathers, in the centuries after Christ, wrestled with this decision. Some, like Tertullian, defended it. This man was not merely taken, he said. He was given revelation for the final days. But others feared the implications. The visions were too detailed. The watchers too dangerous. The Son of Man in Enoch's vision too closely mirrored Jesus, too prophetic to be accidental. If Enoch's writings were accepted, they would confirm not only the identity of the Christ, but the full structure of heaven, the rebellion of angels, and the cosmic war still raging beyond mortal sight. And the church, bound by caution, deemed the book apocryphal, outside the canon. In Rome, the scrolls were collected. Some were hidden in libraries beneath the Vatican, chained beside other forbidden texts. Others were simply destroyed, but a remnant remained. In Ethiopia, the book of Enoch endured, preserved by priests who claimed divine instruction, translated into Guizi, kept in monasteries cut into mountain rock. The book whispered still, waiting to rise again when the time was right. And even today, the watchers stir. The stars shift. The seals groan. The words of Enoch remain written in the fabric of the cosmos. And though men have forgotten them, heaven has not. In the depths of time, where eternity brushes against the veil of history, the name of Enoch was nearly lost, whispered only in shadows, echoed faintly in hidden texts. But prophecy is not bound by silence. What the world buries, heaven remembers. And what is sealed on earth shall one day be opened in fire. From his seat beyond the seventh heaven, Enoch, now Metatron, the scribe of glory, watched the generations rise and fall. He recorded wars, empires, miracles, and martyrdoms. His hand never ceased. His scroll never ran dry. What men forgot, he preserved. What the world ignored, he archived. Then came the days of false light, the final age, a time when men worshipped reason and machines, when the stars were mapped but not understood, and the name of the Most High was spoken with contempt. Knowledge multiplied, but wisdom vanished. The watchers stirred in their prisons beneath the mountains and beneath the seas, their chains loosening as darkness returned to claim the earth. It was then that the seals of Enoch began to tremble. In a cave near the Dead Sea, a scroll was discovered, tattered, ancient, but unmistakable. Its letters glowed faintly, untouched by time. Scholars debated, religious leaders denied, but the scroll's voice had already returned to the wind. In Ethiopia, another copy was lifted from an underground vault, its pages intact, its words undisturbed. The Book of Enoch, they called it. But it was more than a book. It was a trumpet, a warning, and it had awakened. Across the world, dreams troubled the innocent. Young children began to speak of stars falling, of giants returning, of a man with burning eyes riding a chariot of fire. Prophets emerged in back alleys and on mountain roads, whispering the name Enoch. And among the faithful remnant, a question stirred. Could he return? For it was written, in the book of secrets, sealed beneath the silver sycamore, that in the final days, the scribe would descend once more, not in flesh, but in flame, not to preach, but to testify, to declare that the judgment is near and the heavens are ready. And so, in the year unknown, on a night when the moon turned crimson and the stars aligned in the shape of the old throne, a sound thundered across the sky, not a sound of war, but of writing, quills scratching across the fabric of time. And from the rift above, a figure descended, not aged, not young, but eternal, clothed in white fire, eyes like polished bronze, a scroll in one hand, a sword of light in the other. Enoch had returned, not as the son of Cain, nor the scribe of a forgotten age, but as the herald of the final judgment. He walked among men once more, though most could not see him. He stood beside the poor, whispered in the ears of the humble, and wrote the names of the righteous into the eternal book. But the wicked, those who trafficked in corruption, who worshipped gold, who defiled the earth, felt their souls tremble at his unseen presence. And when the heavens split for the last time, and the Son of Man descended in glory to judge both angels and men, Enoch stood at his side, silent, holding the book. All had been written. All would be revealed. For in the end, the words of Enoch, banned, hidden, denied, had never ceased to speak.